Leave. You don't belong here. You are nothing but a gold-digging shadow on our name. Vivian Hale's voice sliced through the grand dining hall like a blade, her face twisted in fury, crystal goblets trembling on the mahogany table as her fist slammed down. Leora Kane froze mid-sip, the wine turning bitter on her tongue, her heart slamming against ribs that suddenly felt too tight. 8 years of silent generosity, pouring her tech fortune into their crumbling legacies, and this was the repayment. Exile spat like venom from the woman who'd once called her daughter. But then Ronan's chair scraped back, his broad frame rising like a storm front, gray eyes locking onto his mother with unyielding fire. Enough, mother. Lyora's the heart of this family, the one who's kept it breathing while you've bled it dry. If she goes, I go with her. Choose now. The room fell into stunned silence, forks clattering, breaths held. In that electric pause, love didn't whisper. It roared, welcome beautiful souls to Mr. CAEL Stories, where romance weaves through the thorns of real life. A massive thank you to my incredible subscribers. You're the spark that lights these tales, and to every new face tuning in, hit that subscribe button and join the embrace. You won't want to miss a single heartbeat of what's coming. What happens when the man you adore finally sees your worth and turns the world upside down for it? Stick around. This one's a fire you'll feel in your bones. If you've ever fought for a love that sees you whole, drop a heart in the comments. Let's ignite the conversation. Like if you're ready for passion that heals, the dining hall in the Hale estate loomed like a relic of faded glory, its vaulted ceilings echoing with the ghost of old money. Chandeliers dripped crystal tears over linen-draped tables, where silverware gleamed under candlelight, casting long fingers of shadow across faces etched with entitlement. Leora Kane sat at the far end, her emerald gown hugging curves honed by late nights in boardrooms, not ballrooms. At 38, she was a force wrapped in quiet elegance, dark hair pinned in loose waves, hazel eyes sharp as the algorithms she coded. 8 years ago, she'd walked into this world on Ronan's arm, a self-made innovator from Cascadia's gritty startup scene, her sustainable energy patents already lighting up coastal skylines. Now, she was the invisible engine keeping the Hales afloat, her fortune a lifeline tossed into their sea of debts. Vivian Hale, Ronan's mother, presided at the head like a dowager queen, her silver-streaked bob impeccable, pearls clutched like weapons. Flanking her were Harlan, Ronan's brother, nursing a scotch with the sullen air of a man who'd burned through 3 startups on family investments, and Mira, the sister, scrolling her phone with feigned disinterest, her designer heels tapping an impatient rhythm. Ronan sat beside Leora, his hand resting possessively on her knee under the tablecloth, a subtle anchor in the rising tide of tension. The meal had started civilly enough, plates of seared foie gras and heirloom tomatoes passed with practiced grace. But as dessert arrived, creme brulee cracked open like fragile egos, Vivian's gaze fixed on Leora, lips thinning to a slash. You've been awfully quiet tonight, dear, Vivian said, her tone honeyed venom, plotting your next acquisition? Or perhaps deciding which of our little ventures to gut next? Leora set down her spoon, the porcelain clink a small defiance. Just enjoying the evening, Vivian. Though if we're discussing ventures, the vineyard's projections aren't promising. Another infusion won't change the soil or the mismanagement. Harlan snorted, leaning forward, his tie askew. Easy for you to say, Leora. You swoop in with your tech millions, play savior, then bail when it suits. That's not family, that's business. Ronan's fingers tightened on her knee, a silent warning, but Leora met Harlan's glare steadily. Family means accountability, Harlan. I've covered your leases, Mira's gallery flops, even the estate taxes last quarter. But pouring good money after bad? That's not love. It's enabling. Mira glanced up, cheeks flushing. God, Leora, not everything's a spreadsheet. Some of us value legacy over ledgers. Vivian's laugh rang sharp, brittle as shattering glass. Legacy? From a girl who clawed her way up from nothing? You forget your place, Leora. This table, this name, it's Hale blood that built it. Yours is borrowed. The air thickened, breaths shallow, as Leora's pulse thrummed in her ears. Borrowed. The word landed like a slap, dredging up memories of wedding vows exchanged in this very hall. Ronan's lips on hers promising forever, his whispers in the bridal suite vowing to shield her from his family's barbs. But shields had rusted. She'd mended them herself night after night, wiring funds from her offshore accounts while Ronan slept, oblivious in the king-size bed they'd shared. I see, Leora murmured, rising slowly, her chair whispering against the Persian rug. If my place is borrowed, then perhaps it's time I reclaim it. She turned toward the arched doors, heels clicking with finality, the room's opulence suddenly suffocating. Vivian surged to her feet, face contorting in a mask of outrage. Leave! You don't belong here. You're nothing but a gold-digging shadow on our name. The words hung, a guillotine blade mid-fall. Harlan smirked, Mira averted her eyes, but Ronan's chair exploded back, Wood groaning as he stood, towering over the table, his 6'3" frame a wall of coiled power. Suit jacket straining across broad shoulders, he fixed his mother with a stare that could level empires. Enough, mother. Lyora's the heart of this family, the one who's kept it breathing while you've bled it dry. If she goes, I go with her. Choose now. Vivian recoiled, hand fluttering to her throat. Ronan, you can't. I can. And I am. His voice was steel wrapped in silk, low and unyielding. He crossed to Leora in 2 strides, arms sliding around her waist, pulling her flush against his side. The heat of him seeped through her gown, a grounding fire amid the chill. You've taken her generosity for granted too long. The vineyard, dead without her. The estate, foreclosed if not for her wires. She's not Shadow, she's the damn sun. And if you can't see that, you're blind to everything worth saving. Harlan shoved back from the table, face purpling. You're choosing her over us? After everything she's done, Ronan cut in, eyes flashing. Wake up, brother, or stay asleep. Your call. Mira whispered, Ronan, please, family. Family respects, he snapped. Leora is family. The rest of you, prove it or get out of our lives. The silence stretched, taut as a bowstring until Vivian sank into her chair, defeated fury simmering in her eyes. Leora leaned into Ronan, his scent, cedar and salt, wrapping around her like a promise kept. For the first time in years, desire flickered not as duty, but as spark. The press of his hip against hers, the possessive curl of his fingers at her waist. Longing bloomed, sharp and sweet, for the man she'd glimpsed at their altar, before the hell's weight bent him. They left without dessert, the estate's heavy doors sealing behind them like a vow broken. In the Bentley idling under the porte-cochere, rain sheeting the windshield, Ronan turned to her, cupping her face in calloused palms, hands that signed billion-dollar deals, but trembled now with raw emotion. I'm sorry, he breathed, thumb tracing her lower lip. For every time I let them dim you. You're my world, Leora, my fierce, brilliant world. Her breath caught, vulnerability cracking open as tears welled. I poured everything into us, into them, hoping it'd make me enough. You're more than enough. His kiss crashed down, urgent and devouring, tongue sweeping in to claim what doubt had stolen. She melted into it, fingers threading his hair, pulling him closer as the driver's partition rose with a discreet whir. Desire ignited, hot and insistent. His hands roamed her thighs, hiking silk to bare skin, eliciting a gasp that he swallowed deep. Home, he growled against her mouth, but his fingers didn't stop, teasing the lace edge of her panties, dipping beneath to find her already slick. Now, the drive blurred into anticipation, city lights streaking past like shooting stars. Their waterfront penthouse welcomed them with open arms, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the harbor's restless waves, the space a blend of Leora's minimalist steel and Ronan's warm leathers. He kicked the door shut, lifting her against it, her legs locking around his waist as his mouth trailed fire down her neck. Ronan, she arched, nails digging into his shoulders, the conflict of the evening fueling a hunger long banked. He'd chosen her, publicly, fiercely, and now she claimed that victory in flesh. He carried her to the rug before the gas fireplace, flames leaping to mirror the blaze in his eyes. Clothes shed in a frenzy, her gown pooling like spilled ink, his shirt buttons scattering like confessions. Naked, she straddled him, palms splaying over the ridges of his abdomen, tracing the V dipping toward his straining arousal. Vulnerability hung between them, her body a map of sacrifices, stretch marks faint from stress-fueled nights, breasts full and sensitive under his reverent gaze. You're exquisite, he murmured, sitting up to capture a nipple between his lips, sucking with gentle suction that drew a moan from her depths. His hands gripped her hips, guiding her down onto him, slow, inch by searing inch, until he filled her completely, a stretch that bordered ache and an ecstasy. She rocked, setting a rhythm born of longing, hips circling to grind her clit against his base, pleasure coiling tight. Ronan thrust up to meet her, one hand tangling in her hair to angle her for a kiss that tasted of salt and surrender, the other slipping between them to circle her swollen bud. Conflict melted into fulfillment, each glide erasing old wounds, his groans mingling with her cries as tension crested. She shattered first, walls fluttering around him in pulsing waves, pulling his release deep inside her with a guttural roar. They collapsed, sweat slick and sated, his arms banding her close. "No more shadows," he whispered, lips brushing her temple. "Just us, light and fire." But as sleep tugged, Leora's phone lit with a text from Mira. "Mom's unraveling. Harlan's furious." This isn't over. The spark of renewal flickered, but embers of conflict smoldered on. If family ever dimmed your light like this, hit that like button and share in the comments how you reclaimed your glow. It might just inspire someone else's fire. We're halfway through the storm. Keep watching for the rainbow. Morning light sliced through the penthouse blinds, gilding the rumpled sheets where Leora stirred. Ronan's arm heavy across her waist, a living tether in the aftermath of their midnight blaze. Desire lingered like a half-remembered dream, her body tender from his thorough worship, but longing twisted anew as reality intruded. The Hale Estate's fracture lines spiderwebbed outward, pulling at threads she'd thought severed. Ronan woke with a kiss to her shoulder, gray eyes soft in the dawn. "Morning, love? Coffee or me first?" She laughed, low and throaty, rolling to face him, her hand trailing down his chest to wrap around his morning hardness. Tempting, but Vivian's shadow looms. Her stroke was lazy, teasing, drawing a hiss from his lips as he bucked into her grip. Later, he promised, capturing her wrist to kiss her palm. "Let me handle the Vipers today. You build empires." By noon, the Vipers struck. Harlan's arrival was announced by the doorman's buzz, his voice booming through the intercom. "Tell Ronan his brother's here to talk sense into him." Ronan met him in the foyer. Leora lingering at the hallway's edge, arms crossed over a silk robe that whispered against her skin. Harlan barreled in, reeking of stale cologne and desperation, his Brooks Brothers shirt untucked. What the hell was that last night? Siding with her over blood? The vineyard's on the brink. Leora's little veto just signed its death warrant. Ronan blocked the living room archway, stance unyielding. "Her veto saved us from bankruptcy, Harlan. You've sunk 3 ventures on whims. She's the reason you had whims to chase." Harlan's eyes darted past him to Leora, narrowing. "Vamdin, she's hoarding her tech cash like a dragon, letting family rot. Admit it, Ronan. She married up and now she's gatekeeping the gravy." Leora's laugh was sharp, stepping forward, robe gaping just enough to reveal the curve of her breast, a deliberate flash of the power he coveted. "Gatekeeping? I've wired over 12 million in 8 years, Harlan. Galleries for Mira, bailouts for you, even that yacht Vivian needed for appearances. Gravy? That's my blood, sweat, and code." Harlan flushed, averting his gaze. "Details. Family doesn't nickel and dime." "Family builds," Ronan interjected, voice edged like flint. "Leora's patents power half the coast's grids. Without her, your legacy is a footnote. Get out or I'll make it official. No more access. No more mercy." Harlan lingered, mouth opening for retort, but Ronan's glare silenced him. Defeated, he stormed out, muttering curses that echoed down the hall. Mira arrived an hour later unannounced, her knock tentative as a plea. She stood in the doorway, rain-dampened coat clutched like armor, eyes red-rimmed. "Can I come in? Just to talk." Ronan hesitated, glancing at Leora, who nodded once, vulnerability her quiet strength. They settled in the sunlit kitchen, steam rising from mugs of Leora's dark roast, the harbor view a serene counterpoint to the brewing storm. Mira's fingers twisted her mug's handle. "Mom's a wreck, Ronan, pacing the estate, ranting about disloyalty. She blames Leora for everything, the vineyard, Dad's old debts resurfacing. But I saw the ledgers last night. You weren't exaggerating." Leora's grip tightened on her cup, heat seeping through porcelain to her palm. "Blame's easy when you ignore the math, Mira. I didn't marry Ronan for the Hales, I married him. The rest? That was choice, until it stopped feeling like one." Mira's gaze dropped, tears splashing into her coffee. "I know. God, I know. My gallery? Your loans kept the lights on while I chased vision. And I repaid you with silence. At dinners, I'd laugh off Mom's jabs, like they were jokes. They weren't. Ronan leaned forward, elbows on the island. Then speak now. Tell her the truth or stay complicit. Mira nodded, wiping her face. I will, but Ronan, she mentioned something odd. Forged invoices for the vineyard grants. Said it was creative accounting to match Leora's style. I thought it was bluster. Leora's blood chilled, a premonition coiling low. Show me. Mira pulled out her phone, scrolling to forwarded emails, lines of diverted funds, signatures mimicking Leora's elegant script, grants from Leora's Green Tech Consortium rerouted to the vineyard's coffers. Embezzlement, plain and vicious, framed to taint her if discovered. Ronan's face darkened, jaw clenching as he scanned the screen. That witch, weaponizing your trust, our trust. The room spun for Leora, betrayal a knife twisting deep. Years of late-night transfers, boardroom battles, won to fuel their illusions, now poisoned. Vulnerability surged, hot tears pricking her eyes. I gave them everything, and this? Ronan pulled her into his lap, arms, iron bands around her shaking form, his chin resting on her crown. Not everything, not us. His voice rumbled against her back, a vibration that stirred embers low in her belly despite the ache. Mira slipped out with mumbled apologies, leaving them in waited quiet. Afternoon bled into evening, the penthouse a cocoon against the gale outside. Ronan drew a bath in the marble ensuite, bubbles foaming under the faucet's rush, eucalyptus steam curling like invitations. Come, he coaxed, shedding his shirt to reveal the sculpted planes she'd mapped 1,000 times. Let me wash this away. She stripped, robe whispering to the tile, stepping into scalding warmth that soothed skin but not soul. Ronan joined her, pulling her back to his chest, legs bracketing hers, his arousal a firm nudge against her spine, a promise amid pain. Vulnerability bared them both. She leaned into him, head lolling as his hands soaped her shoulders, thumbs kneading knots of tension. Why does it still hurt? She whispered, voice fracturing. I knew they saw me as less, but this? Because you loved fiercely, he murmured, lips grazing her earlobe, sending shivers racing. As I should have, from day one. His palms slid lower, cupping her breasts, fingers plucking nipples to taut peaks that drew a gasp from her throat. Desire flickered, tentative, then roared, longing for erasure in his touch. She twisted in his hold, water sloshing, straddling him to claim his mouth in a kiss that tasted of salt and need. Tongues dueled, her hips grinding against his length, slick with more than suds. Ronan's hands gripped her ass, guiding her descent, slow, deliberate, onto him, the stretch a delicious burn that arched her spine. God, Leora, he groaned, hips canting up to bury deeper, water splashing in rhythm with their joining. Conflict fueled the frenzy, her nails raking his chest, marking him as hers, his teeth nipping her collarbone, possession laced with apology. She rode him hard, breasts bouncing with each rise and fall, his thumb finding her clit to circle in tight, insistent loops that coiled pleasure unbearably tight. Fulfillment crashed as she clenched around him, cries echoing off tiles, his release pulsing hot inside her, prolonging the waves until she slumped against him. Boneless, they lingered, breaths sinking, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on her back. We fight this together, he vowed, voice rough with afterglow. No more alone. But the fight escalated that night. Headlines flickered on Ronan's tablet. Green Tech scandal, embezzlement, rocks Cascadia innovator. Vivian's handiwork, leaks twisted to paint Leora as the thief. Harlan's call came at midnight, slurred and accusatory. You leaked it, didn't you? To cover your tracks. Ronan snatched the phone, voice lethal. Touch her name again, and I'll bury you in lawsuits. Stay away. Mira texted coordinates, a neutral cafe at dawn, evidence in hand. Vulnerability peaked as Leora dressed, the mirror reflecting a woman forged in fire. Resolve hardening her gaze. Ronan kissed her fiercely before she left, a talisman against the fray. The cafe hummed with early risers, steam rising from croissants like fragile truces. Mira slid a flash drive across the scarred oak table, her face gaunt. Everything, emails, transfers. Mom forged your SIG on the consortium bids. Harlan knew, helped bury it. Leora's fingers closed around the drive, cold metal biting palm. Why now? Mira's eyes glistened. Because last night, I saw you two. The way he looks at you, like your heir. I want that. Not this poison. A beat of silence, then Lyora's nod. Forgiveness not given, but space carved. Fix what you can, Mira. For you. Back home, Ronan waited, pacing the study like a predator, scenting blood. He pulled her into shadows, mouth crashing to hers in a kiss that devoured doubt. Tell me. She did, words tumbling as his hands roamed, unbuttoning her blouse, palming her through lace, thumbs teasing until she arched. Longing surged, conflict dissolving in heat. He lifted her onto the desk, papers scattering like fallen leaves, hiking her skirt to plunge fingers into her wetness. Ronan, her plea broke as he curled them, stroking that spot that made stars burst. He dropped to his knees, replacing hand with a mouth, tongue laving her folds, sucking her clit with fervent pulls that bucked her hips. Vulnerability spilled in moans, tears tracking cheeks as pleasure crested, fulfillment a shuddering release that left her gasping. He rose, freeing himself to thrust home, desk creaking under their urgency, deep, claiming strokes that pinned her open, bodies slamming in cathartic rhythm. Her legs wrapped tight, urging him deeper, nails scoring his arms as they crested together, his growl muffled in her neck. Panting, entwined, Ronan traced her jaw. We'll expose them, cleanly. Your name shines. But twists deepened, a anonymous tip to Lyora's lawyer. Vivian's will, contested, naming Lyora beneficiary despite the others. Betrayal's ripples widened, pulling them under. Hey, lovers of the heart's wild ride. If a partner's family had ever tested your bond like this, drop your story in the comments. What's the boundary you set that saved your love? Share, like, and subscribe to keep these flames burning. Your voice fuels the next chapter. The cliffside retreat perched on Cascadia's rugged edge. A glass eyrie suspended over the Pacific's endless churn. Waves hurling themselves against basalt like lovers denied. Lyora and Ronan fled their post-scandal, lawyers marshaling evidence in the city while they reclaimed stolen breaths. Isolation wrapped them in salt-laced air, the only sounds gulls' cries and the hearth's crackle, a deliberate unplug from the hail maelstrom. First night, vulnerability unfurled in the hot tub's steam, jets pulsing like heartbeats. Lyora sank into bubbling heat, robe discarded, body bared under star-pricked sky. Ronan joined, wineglass in hand, his nudity a casual glory. Muscles etched by dawn runs, scars from boardroom battles faint on his torso. Here, he said, settling behind her, legs framing hers, arousal nudging her back like a secret. No echoes, just us. She leaned into him, head on his shoulder, the drive's revelations heavy. Mira's evidence clears me, the consortium's auditing now. But Vivian, she named me in the will. Spite or trap? Ronan's arms banded her, lips brushing her temple. Trap or not, it's yours. You've earned every shattered piece. His hands wandered, soaping her arms, then dipping to trace collarbones, thumbs grazing breasts until nipples pebbled. Desire stirred, slow as tide, her sigh parting lips he claimed in a languid kiss, tongues tangling, wine sharp and sweet. Conflict simmered beneath, the will's poison, Harlan's radio silence laced with schemes. But Ronan's touch coaxed it dormant, fingers trailing abdomen to part her thighs underwater, stroking folds with feather-light circles that drew a whimper. Let go, he breathed, two fingers sliding home, curling to stroke inner walls while his thumb pressed her clit. Vulnerability bloomed, her hand covering his, guiding deeper, hips rocking in the jet's rhythm. Pleasure built, waves mirroring the sea's roar. She crested with a cry, clenching around him, fulfillment a shudder that rippled outward. He turned her gently, lifting her onto the tub's edge, water sheeting from her skin as he knelt between her legs. Mouth replacing hand, he devoured, tongue delving deep, lapping essence with hungry swirls, teeth grazing her bud until stars wheeled. Longing peaked in her fingers fisting his hair, urging him on, until release bowed her back again, thighs quaking. He rose, entering her in one fluid thrust. Seated now, her straddling his lap, the new angle hitting depths that gasped breath from lungs. They moved as one, water sloshing, his hands gripping her ass to bounce her on his length, breasts brushing his chest with each descent. Emotional layers wove through, desire in the slap of skin, longing in whispered I see yous, conflict yielding to fulfillment as they shattered synced, his seeds spilling hot amid her pulses. Days blurred into reclamation. Mornings they hiked mist-shrouded trails, Ronan's hand in hers a steady pulse, conversations peeling old skins. I was blind to your climb, he confessed over cliff-edge picnic, cheese and figs forgotten. Startups in garages while I yachted with Harlan. How did you forgive that? Leora's laugh was bittersweet, wind whipping her hair. I didn't, not fully, but love's patient, until it's not. Vulnerability cracked her voice. He pulled her close, kiss deepening amid pine scent, hands roaming to cup her through denim, thumbs teasing until she ground against him. Afternoon brought heat to the deck, loungers angled to sea. Ronan oiled her skin, slow, sensual strokes down spine, thighs, lingering at the cleft where desire pooled. Turn, he murmured, and she did, face down, ass presented as his fingers explored, oiled, insistent, circling her rear entrance with tentative pressure. Trust me? He asked, voice husky. Always, she breathed, pushing back. He eased in, one finger, then two, scissoring gently as his other hand stroked her front, building dual fires. Vulnerability peaked, her moans muffled in cushions, body yielding to the stretch, the forbidden thrill. He replaced fingers with cock, lubed and careful, inching past resistance until seated deep, the fullness a exquisite ache. They rocked slow, his chest to her back, hand between her legs to circle clit, thrusts measured to her gasps. Conflict faded in the intimacy, new territory claimed in love, not conquest. Fulfillment built languid, cresting in tandem cries, her walls milking him as waves crashed below, echoing their release. But drama intruded via encrypted email. Harlan's confession, forwarded by Mira, complicit in forgeries, but cracking under audit threats. He's turning state's evidence, Leora read aloud, curled in Ronan's lap by firelight, against Vivian. Ronan's jaw tightened, arm tightening around her. Good. Let them devour each other. Vivian's call shattered evening calm, routed through the retreats line, voice shrill, unfiltered. You think you've won? That will's a farce. I revoke it. Come back, Ronan. She's poison. He snatched the receiver, tone arctic. Poison? That's you, mother, rotting everything you touch. We're done. The line died, but echoes lingered. That night, passion turned exploratory. Ronan binding her wrists with silk scarf to the headboard, a playful surrender. Tell me your deepest want, he whispered, trailing ice from champagne flute down her sternum. Melting to rivulets, he lapped away. You, she gasped, arching as ice circled nipple, then lower, chilling her heat before his mouth warmed it, tongue plunging deep, fingers joining to thrust in tandem. Vulnerability bared in her pleas, body writhing against bonds. He freed one hand to guide hers to his cock, stroking together as he feasted. Rising, he entered her bound form, thrust shallow teases building to pounding depth, scarf tugging with each slam, her free hand clawed sheets, climax ripping free in screams, pulling his hot flood deep. Unbound after they tangled, breaths ragged. I want to build with you, she confessed in afterglow, fingers tracing his scar. No shadows. Morning brought Mira in person, hiking up wind-lashed paths, face drawn but determined. Harlan's lawyered up, full admission. Mom's fleeing to the Caymans, but the feds are circling. Leora's nod was steady. And you? Mira met her eyes raw. Therapy. Boundaries. I envy your strength, Leora. Teach me? A beat, then Leora's hand extended. Bridge built, not burned. Start with truth. Join us for dinner? As Mira left, Ronan pulled Leora to the railing, back to his front, hands slipping under sweater to caress. Proud of you, he murmured, nipping earlobe, fingers pinching nipples to elicit shivers. Desire flared quick. She ground back, his hardness insistent. Not here, but soon. The promise hung as they descended, heat banked for night. If red flags in love ever waved like this, comment below what's yours and how'd you navigate. Your stories keep this community alive. Hit subscribe, share with a heart-strong friend, and like for more reclamations. Autumn winds sculpted the retreat's cliffs into sculptures of renewal, leaves spiraling like shed doubts as Leora's firms reclaimed headlines. Not scandal, but vindication. Audits cleared her name. Consortium grants flowed anew, untethered. Harlan's plea deal landed probation and restitution. His ventures dissolved in asset fire sales. Mira thrived in therapy's grip, her gallery reborn minimalist, boundaries etched in steel. Vivian vanished into expatriate obscurity, the will upheld in absentia. Leora's inheritance of bittersweet fund for women's tech scholarships transmuted poison to purpose. Ronan aligned his ventures fully. Venture capital funneled to Leora's green grid expansions. Boardrooms shared as equals. Partners, he toasted one golden dusk on the deck, glasses clinking over charcuterie and sea views. In every sense, Leora's smile curved wicked, foot sliding up his calf under the table. Prove it. Desire answered swift. Dinner forgotten, he swept her inside to the master suite where sunset bled crimson through shears. Against the four-poster, he undressed her reverently. Blouse unbuttoned to bare lace, skirt shimmied down legs he kissed inch by inch. Vulnerability lingered in ears shiver, old wounds scarred but tender. Ronan knelt, worshipping thighs, then core, tongue parting folds to lap slow, savoring her taste like finest vintage. Ronan. Longing laced her moan, hands in his hair guiding deeper. He rose, shedding clothes, cock heavy with need. She pushed him to the bed, straddling to tease, sliding along his length without taking him in, clit grinding bass until he bucked. Please spilling. Please, love. She sank down, enveloping him in velvet heat, riding with deliberate rolls that clenched around him. Conflict's ghost, past blindness, faded in his gaze. Hands palming breasts, thumbs flicking peaks to sync her gasps. Fulfillment built layered, her pace quickening, his hips thrusting up to meet, body's slick symphony until she shattered, pulsing him over edge in shared roar. Nights wove rituals, lazy mornings where he'd wake her with fingers between thighs, stroking to drowsy climax before flipping her, entering from behind in spooned languor, lazy glides escalating to fervent slams, her cries muffled in pillows as he palmed her mound, pinching clit to dual peaks. Emotional horizons sharpened. Ronan's confession over cliff walks. Voice raw. I feared your light outshone mine, stayed silent to dim us both. Never again. Leora's tears fell free, vulnerability met in his embrace. And I hid my fractures, fearing you'd see weakness. But you chose me. Whole. Drama's final twist arrived via courier. Vivian's letter, scrawled from exile, not apology but accusation. You stole our son, our legacy. Ronan burned it unread, ashes scattering to foam. Her loss, he said, pulling Leora to the sand below, waves lapping ankles. There, under moonrise, passion crested exploratory, his hands exploring her rear again, oiled fingers prepping as she knelt in surf's edge, ass presented to salt spray. Yes, she breathed, pushing back as he entered slow. The dual stretch, fingers front, cock rear, a profound claiming. They moved tidal, his free hand stroking her to frenzy, fulfillment crashing like breakers, her screams lost to wind. Renewal sealed in twilight ceremony. No officiant, just them on the deck. Ronan kneeling with sapphire ring, her original, resized for healed finger. Marry me anew, he vowed. Knowing all, flaws, fires, futures. Yes, she whispered, pulling him up, kiss igniting. Clothes shed to stone, she backed him to lounger, mounting reverse. Back to chest, his hands roaming free as she rode, ass grinding his lap, his fingers dipping front to circle. Desire peaked in grinding circles, his thrusts upward, hitting depths that bowed her. Fulfillment in synced shudders, stars witnessing their union. Months on, the penthouse hum partnership. Leora's office adjacent his, doors flung for shared strategies, nights tangled in sheets where whispers turned moans, bodies mapping eternities. The moral etched clear, love thrives not in shadows but sunlight, bold choices carving equals from imbalances, passion the forge of true sight. If this tale stirred your soul's horizons, like For the Light It Lit, share with someone needing union's warmth, comment your vow, renewal dreams, and subscribe. Mr. CAEL Stories awaits your next heartbeat. As Leora and Ronan's waves settled to serene swells, remember, exile is an end, but excavation, unearthing worth long buried, love's true vein gleaming raw. They built not empires of stone, but bonds of fire, proof that choosing self sparks the fiercest flames. Thank you, Radiant Hearts, for journeying through Leave You Don't Belong Here. Your presence turns tales to tapestries of connection. To my devoted subscribers, you're the anchors in every storm. Your support sails us forward. New listeners, welcome home. Subscribe now, ring the bell, and let's weave more wonders together. What boundary did this story urge you to draw in your love? Drop it in comments. Your truths inspire ours. Like if passion's reclamation moved you, share with a soul craving its heat. One click ripples worlds. Craving more romance laced with life's raw lessons? Next week, Whispers in the Willow. A tale of forbidden glances blooming to stolen nights, where one secret glance rewrites fates. Hit subscribe. You won't miss the bloom. Until then, live boldly, love deeply. Mr. CAEL signing off with a kiss to your wild hearts.